So, you guys know that one of the things that we hear a lot these days, which to me is embarrassing if you ask me, it's probably how, as soon as you express that you're not happy with your job, things happen, or that you just disagree with the way of things, or that you don't enjoy the job anymore, people tend to immediately recommend that you quit. Why don't you find another job? I can't believe anybody would settle for being a server. It occurred to me that I think we all simply have different circumstances that we must face in order for us to even consider such a thing. It begged the question of why not just ask the question how it is? So, asking myself, I go, when do I believe someone should quit their job? Given that a lot of people tend to be very reactionary about people who express dissatisfaction with their job. Me personally, I have been in the retail industry and it's been the only job that I've ever had. And some days have been better, some days have been not so much better. There's some stuff from 10 years ago that I miss. There's some stuff from 10 years ago that I really hope I never go through again. And there's some stuff about the present day that I'm grateful for. But there's also some stuff about the present day that I can say I'm not very happy with, nor can I say I'm very proud of. The reason I don't just quit my job is because there is a part of me that simply enjoys the circumstances that my current job provides. My bills get paid, I eat. I can say that the kind of schedule that I have does not tear through my day too bad. I had to create that. I have to make that happen because unfortunately, my job is not as good as it could be because of some choices that I make. And one of the choices being that I don't have health insurance because I don't work enough hours to be eligible for that. So at that moment, I tell myself, okay, if I'm going to sacrifice that, I need to make decisions that will accommodate for the fact that I don't have that as a tool. So, what decisions can I make to keep myself to where I may not need to recur to needing things like health insurance, which is one of the most popular reasons why people opt for being a full-time worker. For me, it's I gotta make sure that I'm responsible with what I eat, that I'm responsible about taking care of my body, that I'm responsible with exercising and stuff. And I know that even the perfect diet formula and the perfect workout regime is not going to keep me immune from getting sick. I know that there's something going on with me at this moment in time, but I already accepted that that's the price that I'm going to have to pay. There's some stuff about my current circumstances that I value, and there's some other stuff that I just don't value. And one of those things is I'm not going to live my life in fear. What if nothing ends up happening that's extremely severe, that requires invasive attention or something like that? I have decided that with that decision, there may be some consequences, and I'm prepared to face them, just like I always have. I have been disrespected at my job by my colleagues, but fortunately, I learned through tolerating that I don't let that define me. I couldn't say that some years ago. I remember very vividly that I was very hurt by some of the things that happened to me with my colleagues, and I thought, I know that there's something that I have to learn during this season in my life. This season in my life is going to be over, but this season is going to come back. Why? Because I'm working with people, around people, and I have to also collaborate with people, and people are going to do people things. And one of the things people do is sometimes they are emotionally abusive, micromanagers, rude, disrespectful, inconsiderate, all those negative things. But also, I learned that in the midst of those negative things, that's when I, once again, can discover who the gems are. I discovered people who were loving, kind, gentle, patient, coaching, mentoring, growth oriented, solution oriented, all of those things that I was lacking during one of those seasons. Eventually, I was able to meet somebody who set that stuff right for me. And I had to allow for that to happen. I had to, first of all, make myself vulnerable and open up to yet another individual who, once again, had the potential to hurt me, just like the other ones did, but also had the potential of helping me grow and building me up, which is what ended up happening. Sometimes I tell myself, if only I had the squad from the present, all those years ago, when the bad stuff was happening, I wouldn't have suffered much at all. But then there's also the side of me that's like, because I went through that suffering, I was able to grow. And now I can see the people who may be starting just like I was and observing some things that they just don't understand because they don't have the experience that I do. And now I can have the responsibility of recognizing what is happening and advise the person. Be like, all right, this is what would have helped me at the time that I was going through the things that this person may be going through based on the symptoms that they're describing and I'm personally observing. Now it's my season to become that mentor in someone's life. And that makes me very proud, because had I been a person who decided to run away within the first year or second year of the messed up things happening, I would have missed out on a lot of valuable lessons. But one could also say, well, just because you learned them there doesn't mean that you couldn't have learned them anywhere else. But I must say that it is proper for me to have learned them at the place that I did, at the time that I did, because that is where I come from. That is where I belong in society, in the very bottom. So why would I try to make myself desperate and frustrated about aspiring for greater places and greater positions if I'm not able to live in harmony with my current circumstances, the current place that I'm at? If I cannot survive my current place, which is at my basic elemental level, then what makes me think and feel that I would be deserving of something greater? I wouldn't be prepared to handle that greater thing. I think I have to earn it. And I feel like I can value it better if I work my way up to it, as opposed to just finding a way to just fit myself into that place that I clearly don't belong in. With all that said, when should someone quit their job? I think someone should quit the job the moment that they stop feeling genuine pleasure serving in the manner that they signed up for. Me working in retail, if at any point I feel it's a burden and it's frustrating and it's just grossing me out to provide the service that I provide, then I know that will be my time to quit. And another good thing that helps me kind of measure that is the way that other people speak, other people in my position, other people in my area. They talk about the things that burden them. They talk about the things that they're not happy with, that upset them, that trigger them, so on and so forth. I can empathize because I can relate to a lot of what happens. We're in the same line of work. But I have discovered a difference, that some people don't really cope with that, and they don't spend a lot of time introspecting, and that's why they spend all day long talking about only the bad stuff that happens, only the negative things that happen. They could have had the potential to experience a very positive interaction, but they missed out on it, or they didn't even recognize it because they're too preoccupied thinking about the negative things that have impacted them. Whereas for me, you'll never really hear me complaining about my day or what's happening or who I had an issue with, because I think that my approach tends to be one that's very preventative. It's one that avoids displeasing a person from the start. Ways that I can avoid that from happening would be being an informed worker, being present, being enthusiastic, being physically energetic, and being solution oriented. If I don't know something, it shouldn't have to be the end for that person. I have the resources to connect them with a better person, someone who's better than me, to deal with it. I can serve as the bridge between getting this lost person across, but also meeting with someone who can help them truly make it to the other side. I may be able to just help them get to the middle of that bridge, but the rest will be up to me implementing that connection so that this person can finish crossing that bridge. I can serve as the connector for certain situations. But I feel like there are people who like to take matters into their own hands when they're not supposed to. I think that that becomes disadvantageous when it doesn't give results. If you're there to serve, I would expect that your focus is to make sure that what is expected of you, and when someone inquires to you about something, that you take the adequate action. But a lot of the chronic complainers who I listen to, they don't tend to be very passionate about the job. They're always tired. They're always in pain, complaining about something. They're always too preoccupied with what time it is to determine when they're going to eat, when they're going to leave the area, when they get to go home. And for me, it's like I always know at what time I'm clocking in, but I really don't know at what time I'm clocking out. When I arrive at my shift, that's when I usually find out at what time I'm leaving, unless I'm planning something after work that I may need to know the exact departure time for. I live completely oblivious because I'm more concerned with what my obligations are while I'm there. If you ever reach a point in which you genuinely find zero pleasure, zero purpose, zero satisfaction in what you're doing, that's when you should leave. For me, I have always had a mindset of serving, but I can serve with certain boundaries. When I'm at the job, it's like, sure, I can perform better because I know what I'm doing, I know my role, I know what's expected of me. I'm not afraid to make certain decisions. As a worker, I have a pretty high self-esteem. But outside of work, in my personal life, I really won't be too out there with people unless it's something that's like in my immediate line of sight. I'm not going to go too out of my way to reach someone who may potentially be that individual I recognize who may need service. Because unfortunately, at that point, it's going to start costing me something. And I also have to take into account the fact that I have my own well being to look after. And sometimes there are some of us who put so much passion, so much effort into what we do that we neglect ourselves. And at some point, I want to say around year 5, year 6, that's what I was doing. I was forgetting to take care of myself, and I just felt like everything that I was doing had no meaning. I was resentful, but eventually I just learned how to be like, okay, at this moment in time, this is the role I ought to focus on. And outside of here, this is who I am, this is what I am, this is what I have to take care of. And completely protect that, defend that, and be completely unapologetically aggressive about guarding that. Whereas before, I used to think, well, I have to perform well at everything. And once I let go of that, once I said, okay, I can be the perfect worker, but at least let me have a little bit of a messy personal life so that I'm okay with adversity. After I recognized that, everything was okay. And I was discovering that I was having trouble when adversity started to strike. It's like my personal life is going to hell, my work life is slowly starting to suffer as well. So at least I decided to pick one thing to truly put hours on, to become a master at, and be the one thing that I can truly dominate any time of the day. That became the job. I became the master of my role, the master of my job, and hence why I don't have confidence issues there. But a lot of the chronic complainers who I know, if you're going to be a shitty worker, at least be a great mother, at least be a great boyfriend, at least be a phenomenal dog owner, just anything. Be good at something. But I've been observing that a lot of people tend to be really bad at too many things. You're bad at the job, you're bad at your house, you're bad at taking care of yourself. So for me, it's like, okay, as a worker, these are the things that I need to succeed. And I think that my body also ought to reflect the fact that I can take care of that as well. But, there's some people who you can just observe and you're like, your whole life is like everywhere, messy, no structure, just one thing. Pick one thing to truly dominate and accept when someone else points out your shortcomings, and find someone to bestow the authority upon to tell you things how they really are. Because that was another thing I was having trouble with. At some point, when an area of my life was suffering, I was having a hard time accepting what someone who legit knows what they're talking about was telling me. And I instead used to become offended very easily because I felt, well, I have everything under control. I should have everything figured out. Who are you to tell me what to do? So now what I do is at the job, I know exactly who that one person is who I know is going to tell me things the way they are, and I'm not allowed to get offended because I gave them that authority. In my personal life, same thing. I have that one person who is keeping me in check. So yeah, you guys, I hope that it answers the question of when I think someone should quit. Even the completely apathetic people I hear at work, I do think it's time for you to quit. But I don't tell them that because I feel like it's not my place to do that. I don't know this person well enough. And who knows, maybe this person who's the chronic complainer deep down is the superstar of the squad, but they don't see it yet because they're too preoccupied with whatever is hindering them from being able to shine here. So, yep, I think that you should quit no matter what job you're at, what role you're performing. The moment you stop feeling genuine pleasure doing it, just go. Go and try finding something else, something that aligns with you a little better. For me, even though I was never the most social person, like I always knew that I hated crowds, I hated noise, I hated gossip, I hated all those things, I told myself I liked the idea of being there for someone when they need it. But as someone who's not educated, I don't have a lot of choices. So I told myself I have to accept that I'm going to be condemned to a entry level, low skill kind of job. How can I shine there? How can I make myself useful at that place? As long as I'm useful, as long as I can see my utility, I'm happy. The only times I have been miserable at work is when I have become confused about what my role is, and when I'm standing idle, it's like, what can I do to make myself useful? So if I cannot directly serve a person, I will start cleaning. At least let me enhance the appearance of the area, and at the same time, I'm taking care of people's health because dirty places will make people sick.